This slideshow will discuss three specific pitfalls to writing a literary analysis essay. The first pitfall is in the integration of your source material. When you transition your language into quoted language, you need to be sure that there's some connecting factor between your thoughts and your direct quote. In the example you see below, the second sentence ends with learning that she is a slave, and then the text evidence, when I was 6 years old, begins immediately following the second sentence with only a period to end that clause. You have to have something between the two to connect those ideas. Here are solutions to that problem. You can either use a colon instead of a period to connect the two thoughts, assuming that they are related thoughts, of course, or you can use an introductory phrase to introduce your quote. And I think most of us are comfortable with the author's name and a verb. Jacobs remembers, Susan said is the simplest form of that. An author asserts this opinion, comma, and then your statement. So most of us have seen the second example more often probably than the first, but the first is absolutely acceptable as well. You should see page 224 and 225 for more tips on source integration. There are several other items that I did not include in this slideshow that you will want to take a look at. So the next pitfall is with your thesis statement. When writing a characterization essay, it's important that your thesis statement states more than simply the character's name, is, and then 3 adjectives. So your thesis statement should include 2 parts, the what and the why. The claim you're making, the 3 characteristics, are your what. And so most of you are very comfortable with that part. The why is where I see us having an issue. And this is very important to your thesis because the question is, why should we care? Why should we care to read the rest of this paper? Why should we care what this character feels? Why is your claim important? So this is the big idea that I have been referring to, also leaning toward theme, which we'll discuss in the next essay, that makes your thesis really pack a punch and be relevant to your reader. So let's look at a few examples. Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn is a great American novel. This thesis statement it presents an opinion, but it's not necessarily an argument. So our next level of analysis, in Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain develops a contrast between life on the river and life on the shore. This is better because it is an argument. You're saying Twain develops this contrast, so you could write your essay to explain the contrast. But it doesn't answer your so what question. You could write this whole essay discussing the contrast, but what is the point? And this is where I see most students starting when they write thesis statements for literary analysis. So you want to work to get to this next level of analysis that you see below. Through its contrasting river and shore scenes, Twain's Huckleberry Finn suggests that to find the true expression of American ideals, one must leave civilized society and go back to nature. So I've still maintained the what. I'm discussing the contrast of river and shore, but this thesis gives me the why as well. What am I getting from that what? I'm seeing that Twain is suggesting one must leave civilized society to go back to nature. Okay, so we're going to take another look. I've got that one on a separate slide for you to get a better look at it. Your what is in purple. It's an analysis of the content, so that's the part from the text, in this case from the novel, and then your why is in red. That's your interpretation part. So, and notice how the why, which I've got a couple other examples for you to look at as well, the why is outside of the context of just the story. It refers to something that deals with culture or humanity or society as a whole. It leans toward a universal truth, not just something trapped within the context of your reading. So here's a couple other examples. Remember, the what is in your blue and the why is in red. So here our what discusses symbols the lover's longing, the tavern of ruin. What is the purpose of those symbols? To illustrate the human soul's desire to connect with God. Our next example, in A Worn Path, Welty creates a fictional character in Phoenix Jackson whose determination, faith, and cunning illustrate the indomitable human spirit. This one is closest of these examples to what you will be writing. You have a character, you have 3 traits of that character, and then it goes on to give a purpose for those 3 traits, illustrates the indomitable human spirit. That is outside of the context of the plot of the story. That is something that could apply to all of humanity. These are characteristics of the human spirit. So that is the last of the bit on thesis statements, and I really want to encourage you to spend some quality time with your thesis statement, because that is going to set the stage for what you can do for your analysis in the text, in your essay as a whole. The final pitfall that I'm seeing with literary analysis is interpretation statements. And you'll notice that I referred to interpretation statements in the puzzle strategy video. It's in your textbook on page 300. It's that third part of your writing. You've made the claim, you state your evidence, and then you have to draw it all the way back together for the reader. Sometimes your reader probably could put together the 2 parts without you stating it, but it's your job as the writer to make that connection so that your argument is as strong as it can possibly be. So here are a few examples from the outline sample in your textbook, and I've just color-coded it a bit so that you can see where each part goes. Your topic sentence, Phoenix's name and appearance makes her a symbol of immortality. If you go back and look at your thesis, it's talking about how Phoenix is an example of immortality, or her character is immortal, something along those lines. So that's why I highlighted that. So the claim A for this topic is in Phoenix's name. Your claim B for this topic, if you look back in the book, is for the appearance. So notice how that's parallel. A is the name, B is the appearance. So the name Phoenix Jackson parallels the Greek myth relating to the bird called Phoenix. Then you have an encyclopedia discussion of what happens to a phoenix. That's your evidence. And your interpretation, she, like the Phoenix myth, has a name which represents this immortal being that rises from the ashes to create a new phoenix. So within that one statement, I have reference to the evidence, like the Phoenix myth, reference to your claim, has a name, and reference back to your thesis or back to your topic, the symbol of immortality. That one sentence brings together all 3 parts for your reader to have a very, very clear understanding of what you're arguing and how you're supporting it. Let's take a look at our next example. I included this one because I wanted you to see how you can use multiple evidence examples to support one claim. Another representation of Phoenix's immortality is through her speech. So her claim, Phoenix refers to herself without mentioning an actual age. That is how her speech presents her immortality. You have 2 evidence examples from the text. My census is gone, I too old. I the oldest people I ever know. And then the interpretation, she's older than anyone with whom she comes in contact. This interpretation is really more of an explanation of the evidence, and standing alone, I would say that it needs more. However, it transitions into the next piece of evidence. Nobody know who made this well, for it was here when I was born. And then that piece of interpretation does kind of round out that whole construction with reference to the well, reference to her age, and then reference back to the immortality. No one can possibly know her age, not even Phoenix herself. So that is leading to the inference that she is immortal. So again, these are samples from the outline in the text. You should see the full outline to get a full understanding of what this essay example looks like. And be sure to take a look at the document that I have posted with an outline template, because I want your outlines to look as thorough as these examples. I need to have a very clear understanding of your understanding of the reading and of your argument so that we can make our essay ones that you submit in the next module as strong as possible. Let me know if you have any questions.